You may begin.
Hello, my name is Shreeya, and I'm from Lexington County, and I will be discussing the Electoral College Knowledge and Knowledge. The purpose of my presentation is to educate others on the workings of our government, and I will be doing this by discussing the who and the how of the Electoral College. So first of all, what is it? Well, the Electoral College is our governing body that not only elects our president, but also decides on the laws and legislation which we abide by. The Electoral College is composed of congressmen whom we elect into office, and it can be broken down, as I said earlier, into the who and the how. And the who is the legislative branch, which can be broken down into the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the how is the modes of representation, that being the winner-take-all system and proportional representation. And I just wanted to expand on our Electoral College, as we have a new Electoral College because new people took office in January. And I'll start with the House of Representatives. Now, the House of Representatives is a total of 435 members. And in this graphic, we have 212 Democrats, 218 Republicans, and 2 vacancies within the Republican Party, and then 3 independents. And in the Senate, we have 53 Republicans, 45 Democrats, and 2 independents, to make a total of 100. And now that I've discussed, kind of broken down the Electoral College, I want to move on to the legislative branch and what it is. Well, the legislative branch is one of our 3 branches of government, and it is the only branch of government that we, the people, directly elect. So it's also the branch of government that is in charge of making laws and legislation for us, because they're best fit to directly represent us because we chose them. Now, legislative branch is in charge of passing laws and legislation, as I said, because we don't want to have everyone go to the election office every single day to vote on small things like what our national income tax should be. So we elect people to do it for us so that we're not having to deal with that busy thing in our everyday lives. Now, the legislative branch can be broken up into the House of Representatives and the Senate. And fun fact, the House of Representatives was originally the only part of the government that was directly elected by us, the people. And the House of Representatives is considered the lower house because it's based off of population. So there are 435 seats within the House of Representatives that are redistributed every 10 years based off of population shifts. So for example, Florida gained a representative in 2020, and North Dakota lost one because of population shifts. Now, in the House of Representatives, all seats are up for re-election every 2 years within our midterm and presidential elections. And representatives, unlike the president, can be elected as many times as possible. So we have representatives that have been in the House for upwards of 20 years. And this is because the House of Representatives is meant to be more geared towards the short term and what the people want. And because each representative represents around 100,000 people within their district, and it's meant to be able to voice all of those opinions that everyone has about what our laws should look like. Now, moving on to the Senate. The Senate, it was originally voted on by state legislators, but it is now directly voted by the people, and that's just a fun fact I thought would be a little interesting. And each state gets 2 senators to make a total of 100, and this is so that they have an equal vote and equal voice within the Senate. Now, those in the Senate are up for re-election every 6 years, but they spread out the elections so that only a third of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years, so the Senate isn't constantly changing. And this is so that we can have more long-term laws and long-term goals met within our government. And it's also meant to kind of rationalize the more passionate side of the lower house with the House of Representatives. Now that I've explained the who of the government, I want to explain the how. And the how is modes of representation. Now, to understand modes of representation, you also have to understand what the popular vote is. And the popular vote is pretty much what we go and vote for in November. It's what we do when we cast our ballot. And the winner-take-all system is used within presidential elections to decide where our electoral votes will go. So the winner-take-all system is pretty much where the person who wins the majority of votes, all of the electoral votes within that state will go to them. And I'm going to use Texas as an example. 80% of Texas in the last election was Republican and 20% was Democratic. And because a majority were Republican, all 40 of Texas's electoral votes went towards the Republican Party. And this leads us to proportional representation. Proportional representation is another mode of representation, and it's the mode which Maine and Nebraska use, and they're the only states that use this. And it's pretty much where the vote is split based off of the popular vote. So, for example, I'm going to use Maine. 80% of Maine was Democratic and 20% of Maine was Republican. And instead of all 4 of their electoral votes going towards Democrats, 3 of their votes went towards Democrats, and 1 of their electoral votes went towards the Republican Party. And you may be wondering how this is possible. How can they have different laws from the rest of the United States? And that's because of Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution, where it pretty much just states that states can decide their own elections. And the reason this has been added is so that our elections can be as unbiased as possible. Now that I explained the who and the how of the Electoral College, I'm going to explain the why. Why is it important? Now, the Electoral College is important because it helps you become a more knowledgeable citizen and a more knowledgeable future voter. And it also, understanding the nuances of our government and our Constitution can help you understand the nuances of the system in which we live in, which makes it very important to learn about. Now, ties to 4-H. Well, how does this tie to 4-H? Well, it ties directly to our leadership and civic engagement branch within 4-H. And it also ties within the parliamentary procedures which we use in our club, and I'm going to use our county city council as an example. I'm currently vice president of our county city council, and within that club, in every meeting, we use parliamentary procedures that are modeled based off of the legislative branch and what they do. I mean, our voting system at the very beginning when we voted for our positions was directly based off of the winner-take-all system. Now, why the Electoral College? Well, I chose the Electoral College because I personally want to minor in political science, and I want to do this because I want to better understand the government in which we live in so that I can use that system to help others. Because if I understand it, then I can help others understand it and use it to their benefit. And the reason I included government and politics in there is because that is a class I'm currently taking, and it's the class that sparked my interest for political science. My teacher in that class was very encouraging, and she pushed me towards the topic, and it's sparked an interest that I want to share with others. Now, conclusion. In conclusion, the Electoral College is our main governing body that decides on the laws and legislation which we govern by. It can be broken down into the who and the how, the who being the legislative branch, that being the House of Representatives and the Senate, and the how being the modes of representation, that being the winner-take-all system and proportional representation. It's important to learn about the Electoral College because understanding our government can make you a more knowledgeable citizen and future voter, and it can also help you educate others so that they can work with the system they live in. Those are my sources. Thank you so much for your time. I will now be taking questions.